Hi, Mark Reedy here. In this video, I want to go over how to set up a piece of equipment inside of TATEMS. So we're going to go over how to add the equipment, how to deal with duplicate equipment numbers, basic filling in of the equipment summary tab, setting up your first lube service for reminders, setting up your first 90-day inspection for reminders, setting up inspections and permits for reminders, and adding filters to the filters tab. And that's basically informational, just for quick reference. And they also will print out on your lube service reminders if you want them to. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So once you have TATEMS open, you're just going to click on Records, Add New Equipment, and we'll just put one in here, 100. And we're just going to leave it the default truck tractor. If you want to add a different equipment type, you can do that from this screen. I'll go ahead and do that just so you can see what it looks like. And I'll just hit OK there. It's going to ask me if I want to add it because it's not in the list. Click OK. And we're going to go ahead and click OK there. And we see that number 100 has been added. All the equipment, other equipment from the list has been removed from view so that you're just working on this piece of equipment. You can't navigate to a different piece of equipment and accidentally start adding new stuff thinking that you were still working on equipment number 100. So we'll go ahead and put in a description. You can assign it a sort order number, which is a numeric value. So if you're using alpha numeric equipment numbers, you might want to assign it a number for sorting in the future, because the sorting is an alpha numeric sort order. So 1 and 10 would come before 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it sorts from left to right because it's an alpha field, alpha numeric. All right. So if you wanted to have your numbers sort like 1 through 10, and you went up to and you had 3-digit numbers in your fleet, so you had 100s and 200 series and so forth, you would want to prefix it with 2 zeros. So it'd be 001, 002, 003. When you get up to 10, it's going to be 010. When you get up to 20, it's going to be 020, 021, 022, and so forth. And that would sort them in that order if you're just going to be using numeric values. Otherwise, you can always use the sort order number here to assign it a numeric value. And you can also, up here under the sort order button here, there's also one underneath Tools and Update Sort Order. It's the same thing. You get the same thing here. And over to the right, you can see each piece of equipment, and then you can add a sort order, a numeric value, to each piece of equipment. And then you can use that in reports. When you want to print out reports, you can choose to sort them by the sort order number or by the equipment number. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about duplicate equipment numbers. We're going to click on Records, Add New, and we're going to do 100 again. Click OK, and we see that it's asking us who the customer is. So because it's 100, you can't have the same equipment number for the same customer. We can see the customer on the original one down here is Big Toe. And so now we can change that to a different customer, and then you could add it to the system. All right, so that's how you enter duplicate equipment numbers, by changing the customer. All right, so I'm going to cancel that. And then over here on the equipment details, it's basic information, serial number, VIN number, make, model, year. So choose that from the drop down, and then all of these drop downs you can add to on the fly. So if I wanted to add a different fuel type, you can add it. And the way to add something is to just type it in here, and you could say something like this. I don't know if there's such a thing. And we can add it to the list, and then that would be the fuel type. And these drop-down lists can be edited or added to underneath Forms, drop down List Maintenance, and if we just open the whole thing up, you can see all the drop down lists in the program are listed here. And if we were to look at the fuel types one that I just added to, it's going to be right here. And so we can see the heavy gas, and if you want to deactivate one of these so they don't show up in the drop down list, you're just going to check the inactivate checkbox. All right, and so you can choose a customer, location, department, or area. You can filter by those items over here. Like if you wanted to see everything in a specific department or area, you would choose that, and then you would choose which department, then it automatically populates with the department or areas that you have in your system, and then you would click on search and it would show you all the equipment in that department or area with that equipment number. If I take the equipment number out, it's going to show everything in all department, in that department or area, all equipment I should say, in that department or area. All right, so I'm going to go back and go back to show all there, and then over here on the right you can choose an equipment picture. So I click on that, and there are specifications for how to link up the picture. The picture actually is going to be an image that resides on your hard drive, and it's going to be a bitmap picture, which is a .bmp file, and you can create those in Microsoft Paint, which is the imaging program that comes with Windows. And so you can just basically, if you have a picture, you can open it up and then you can save it with these dimensions, the 360 by 216 pixels, and then you can attach it over here. You just click on that attachment button or the open folder button, and it will open up the Windows navigation pane so you can find the picture you want to link to, and like this here, and then click open, and it'll pop it into the picture location. Now this picture, and now you can see it's sitting on the hard drive. If you're on a network, you want this to be in a shared location where everybody has access to it, because everybody's not going to have access to your C drive. Okay, so this picture will show up in the underneath reports, current equipment reports, the unit information report, and the unit information report with all equipment data. Those two reports. So it'll be on page 2 of this report here. All right. So let's moving on, and we'll go over to the update odometer and hours to add an odometer reading so you can get your current reading for this piece of equipment. And you can enter it in here. So we'll say 100. We'll just, and it defaults to the current date. Okay, so now these other fields here, the loop service field, you don't enter anything here. This is just going to display the loop service information, like the loop service types that have been done in the past. The next one that's due as far as mileage or kilometers, then how many miles or kilometers to go before it's due again. And then the next hours that it's due, if it's based on hours meter intervals. And then how many hours to go before it's due, the next due date, if it's based on days, and how many days to go before it's due. 90-day inspection completion date, this just shows you the last date it was done, the next day it's due. And this doesn't have to be 90 days, this can be 365 if you want it to. And that can be changed. It's a global setting for all equipment as far as this inspection. And so if you want it to show up on your reminder screen, you got to make sure you check this box here, and then the 90 days inspections will show up in your reminders. The driver history is just for keeping track of your drivers, who is on the equipment at what point in time. So if I double click this, I can choose a driver, and I can put a date in and do a save and close, and that driver shows on the equipment, currently at this date. So you can have a beginning and ending date for each driver, and this will just populate as you add more drivers to the equipment. And then later on, you can see who was on the equipment when. And then we have the registration and taxes. And this, basically what you have to do here is you put in the month that the registration is due. You put in the last time it was done. All right, so if it was done a year ago, for example, and then you're going to put in the interval of how often it's supposed to be renewed. So I'm going to put in, that's going to be in months. So I'm going to put 12 months there. And then we can choose the base license or province state, licensed state or province that it is supposed to be registered in. And you can put in the motor vehicle tax, the last date that was done. And you can put in the interval for when it's supposed to be paid for again or done again. And so we can just put whatever, 72 months there. And the same thing with the last highway use tax date. You're just going to put a date in there, and you're going to put in the interval on that. All right. And then you can put what your license fees are for this piece of equipment. You can just, this is just a overall license fees. So whatever it happens to be, you can put it in there, and that can be calculated back to your cost per mile or overall cost for a time period. Okay, so we'll click on that, click OK there. For insurance, you can choose who the insurance company is, and then you can put in the time it was last renewed, and then you can put in the how often it's going to be renewed. So we could say 12 months, 1 month, 6 months, whatever you want, and whatever the amount is. All right, and click OK there. And for financials, you're going to go ahead and choose whether you lease or own it. And then you can put in the lease or purchase length in months. And then you can put in the actual date. And I can double click that to put the date in, by the way. We can put in the date that it was activated in on your fleet. And we can put in the date that it was inactivated if you want to put that in there. How much the purchase price was. So you can put that in there, and the equipment value, which is what you figure your current value is, and then you can put in any other fixed costs associated with it, and how much is depreciation, it's depreciated so far. All right, so you can put that in there, and then you can put the life expectancy, how many years at purchase. So we'll put in how many years there, and then it automatically calculates the remaining life until replacement. And you can put in the replacement cost increase per year. So what the percentage is per year to replace it. So about how much you think it's going to go up year over year. And then you can have the current cost of replacement there. So you can see the replacement cost is still only $90,000 because we haven't gone into the future yet. But if I were to backdate this acquired date here to say 2012, you would see that the cost of replacement goes up, right? So that's how that works. And we can put in who the owner is. Right there, right? So you could just put your company name, whatever you want to put there. That's fine. It's just informational. Click OK there, and then coolant testing. This is just if you are getting your coolant tested. You can put in those numbers here, and then that's just informational as well. There's no reminders based on this. It's just going to show you what it was the last time it was tested. So every time you bring it up, you can update it, or you can, so you could see what it was the last time as compared to what you're about to enter in this time. Okay, and then for oil analysis, basically the same thing. You can put in the last time it was tested and the miles that it was at, or the hours meter reading, and then the next time you want it to be retested, miles and or hours meter reading. And there's no other readings in there, and there is no reminders for this. This is just informational that you can bring up when you want to look at the last time it was tested, the next time you want to have it tested. And then for miscellaneous details, you can put in the number of axles, number of seats, and other miscellaneous equipment. This is sometimes required by various state DOTs on your unit information report. All right. So that is it for the equipment summary screen. And now we're going to go over to the Lube Service tab for reminders. So let's go over to the Lube Service tab. And here we are going to enter in our first lube service. So it comes pre-populated from us with a few lube services. And so I can choose one of these, or you can type in your own. So we're going to go ahead and do one from scratch as if you've never put one in here before. And so I'm going to type in 10,000 mile, and then it's going to tell me it's not in the list. Ask me if I want to add it. I'm going to click OK. And then it's asking me for the mileage interval. So I'm going to say 10,000. Just put in the numeric value there. And it's asking me if there's an hours interval. So this, if you were basing it on an hours meter, then you would put in a numeric value there. I'm just going to click OK to bypass that. And then it's asking me for a days interval. So how many days do we want to go? And I'm not going to base it on days. But you could have all three intervals in one lube service, and whatever happens first is what is going to trigger the reminder. Okay, so whether it's miles or hours or days, if you're tracking all three of those and you want all three of them included in your interval, then whichever one ends up coming up first is what is going to trigger the reminder for that lube service type. So we click OK there, and we can just put in. Now, if you are initializing a piece of equipment for the first time, even if it's a brand new equipment or if you're just getting started with TATEMS, you need to put one of these in here so that TATEMS knows the last time it was done in order to generate reminders for the next time it's going to be due. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just put in today's date, and we'll put in an odometer reading of 100. That's the current odometer up here. I'm going to hit tab. It's going to ask me if I want to add this odometer reading to the equipment itself, and it's already been added, so I don't need to. But if I hadn't updated the equipment itself, then I could use this entry to update it to a current odometer reading. All right, so I'm going to say no to that, and we're not going to put an hours meter reading in here, and then we can just type in who completed this, or from the personnel file, we can choose the person's name that has actually completed this lube service. All right. If they're not in the drop down, you can just type it in that field as well. And then we're just going to check off the items that were done on that last lube service. And like I said, if it was initializing for the first time, you wouldn't check any of these off because, I mean, if it's a brand new piece of equipment, you wouldn't need to check any of these off. And then over here, and then under the notes, you can just say initial entry, and that's all you got to say there. And that will just let you know that this was the last time it was done, or if it's the initial entry for a brand new piece of equipment, you can just put that there because there was no actual lube service done because it's a brand new piece of equipment. You're just setting it up. Okay, and so if you have lube services that need to be done at various intervals, you can add a new one in. And so if I do say a 3,000 mile one here, so now we got a 10,000 and a 3,000, we could say they were done at the same time and at the same mileage, for example, and by the same person. But what's going to happen is the next time I do a 10,000 mile lube service, it's going to pop up with a question asking me if I want to include the lower interval lube service as well. All right, and so that what'll happen is if I did a 10,000 mile, it's going to pop up and say you've also got a 3,000 mile. Do you want that one to show as being completed at the same time? And normally you would, because anytime you do a higher interval lube service, it's usually going to include whatever is included in the lower interval lube service as well. All right. This filter up here at the top is for showing how many entries you want to see in this list down here. So it's just showing the last two. You could change it to show the last how many were, no matter how many are the last two in the last 30 days, 180, 365. You could take the last number out of there and just do a beginning and ending date. So you could choose from and to, and this will automatically populate with the date range if you use like 365, 180, or 30 days. And then you could update this to show a longer date range if you wanted to, like that. All right, and you just click on the filter and it'll reshuffle everything and show you all the stuff in there. Each of these buttons at the top allow you to sort by that field, so you can bring dates to the top or odometer readings to the top or the bottom, however you want to do it. All right, and then the show all button here just removes the filters and just shows you everything that was ever done on that equipment. All right, so now we will go to setting up our first 90-day inspection. So I'm going to go back here to one tab, to the 90-day inspection tab, and so we're going to click Add Inspection. And when you first start it, it's going to tell you that they're not in the system yet, so let's just go ahead and click OK there. And for this equipment type, you can see we don't have any inspection items. So you can look at the 90-day inspection videos that shows you how to get those back into the system. And so what we do here is you're going to choose the month and the year that the inspection was completed. So if we're just doing this for the first time, you could go back in time. You know, for example, maybe it was done in April, and we're going to put in the inspector's name. This is going to be a drop down from the personnel file, and you're going to put the date inspected, and the date inspected here has to fall within this date range here, so April 2017. So if I put in today's date, it's not going to let me do that. So let me go back here, and we'll put in April. And so that allows me to do that. And then I can put the odometer reading in that it was done at. Ask me if I want to add that to the equipment itself. I've already got that 100-mile one in there, so I don't need to. I'm going to say no there. And basically now I just do a close, and you can see it shows up in the list and it's been completed. So it was done on 4/2. All right, and then we're going to go take a look at the setting up inspections and permits for reminders. And we're going to go over to the Inspections and Permits tab. And here, basically, you've just got, this is all pre-populated by us, and you can change these to different intervals if you want. And these are based on days. So all I got to do is put in the last time it was done. So I'm just going to double click to put today's date in. And then it's going to automatically calculate the next time it's due. All right, so this is all based on days. That's how that works. And next we're going to take a look at adding filters to the Filters tab. And the filters here, and in order to add filters, all you got to do is enter in a number. Whatever the number is for that type of filter, enter it in there, and then later on you can print these out from here. Like so. And it'll show you the filters for that piece of equipment. And then also those will print out if you want them to on the Reminders pop-up screen. So if we go over here to Reminders pop-up, and we go to the lube service reminders. So you can see here there's a checkbox that says include filters. So if I were to choose that and then click on the, now I can sort this first before I print it. So if I say I want miles to go or kilometers to go sorted, so the most past due one is at the top and the least past due one is at the bottom. So this one has 3,000 miles to go, but it's past due, you can see here, because it also has a days interval on that particular lube service type, which is just called service truck on this database. So if I click here on the print with the filters, it's going to show the equipment number, description, location, the current odometer reading, the lube service type, when it's due, and then the next time it's due, and then how far past it's due, or how many miles to go before it's due, and then it shows you the filters listed for that particular piece of equipment. Then it moves to the next piece of equipment. So that's how that works. And so that's it for how to set up a piece of equipment in TATEMS. Hopefully that's been helpful for you. And thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one. Take care.